gotta dry my tires. What's going on, everyone? My name is Steven. John is unfortunately out on vacation this week, so he has asked me to fill in for him. Today we're going to be taking you guys along on a bit of a driving video and show you how actually usable these cars are and explain some of the nuances. So I think it's a great time to kind of talk about what makes the Diablo GT so special. For a lot of us Lamborghini enthusiasts, for many years this car was viewed as kind of the forbidden fruit. It was the car that we didn't get. It was the last of the line. It was the greatest. It got all the updates and was the most kind of extreme variant production car of the Diablo that was available at the time. So we got the 6.0 and we got the Diablo SV, but this kind of combined those two cars together, where you get the rear wheel drive, you get, you know, the updated power, the 6-liter engine, you get the updated interior package, and the fit and finish from Audi's involvement with the car is really apparent throughout. But the most noticeable part of these cars is how they drive. The normal Diablo, I think, weighs around 3,600 pounds. Then the GT weighs 3,200. So they were able to pull about 400 pounds of weight out of this car. So as you'll see here in a couple minutes, the most dramatic change is what's behind me. This 6-liter engine, independent throttle bodies, producing almost 575 horsepower. It's a dramatic change over the standard cars. Initial driving impressions of this car, it is a dramatic change over other Diablo variants that were available at the time. The most immediacy that you see is the lightness of the rear-wheel drive conversion that was available in this car. The smaller diameter wheel makes turn-in a lot more responsive, and the seats definitely give you a lot of comfort. Well, I wouldn't say comfort. Support's a much better word. Things that you notice in this car is how dominating that engine is behind us, where when you step on the throttle you can hear the induction noise from the independent throttle bodies. It's truly sensational. Things about the Diablo GT is how the Diablo stayed true to its original roots throughout its lifespan with the many different owners groups. So when cars, sometimes they have longer production runs, you'll see different groups come in and say, hey, we need to add this, or this is too hard, we need to soften the ride, and then it becomes that the early cars are the cars that are desirable because they're in their purest, truest form. Whereas the GT stays true to that original formula of the rear-wheel drive, a kind of aggressive devil, if you will. Traffic, there was some confusion about not having the rear window and no visibility. It takes some getting used to, it really does. That's kind of one of the things, like around town, where the car can suffer a little bit in drivability. The controls are actually decently light. You know, power steering fitted to this car, brakes are great, clutch can be a little heavy at times, but once you find the bite point, you're off and rolling. Throttle is easy.
man, looks great.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you. You too. That's beautiful. Enjoy it. There we go. Yeah. So I think now's a great time to talk about how usable these cars are and how they get a bad rap of being these difficult beasts to drive and untainable and just absolutely a bear in traffic and all these other kind of horror stories that you hear about these cars. So today we spent about 2.5 hours with this car and ran it through its paces, did every situation, highway, city, and now in bumper-to-bumper traffic where you'll get a little bit of fatigue from some of the controls, but the steering is still nice and light. The clutch is not unbearable compared to other cars. So I think to understand the Diablo GT, you have to understand what Lamborghini was going through in terms of the company at that period. They were purchased by Chrysler in the late 80s, and there was starting to get some influence from Chrysler in terms of the developments of the cars. When the Diablo was originally launched, it had a manual gearbox, rear-wheel drive, no ABS, no traction control, no assist, manual steering, and the forward visibility with the double stack cluster was a little difficult, where this car has rear visibility is a little difficult. But the cars kind of evolved as the company progressed. That's one of the things that's interesting about this, is that a lot of times cars lose their soul, they lose the original shape and what made the original design special, where as Audi influence came in, they had the better fit and finish, they had the build quality. Then you had incredible legends like Luke Dunkerwald came in and he updated the design of the Diablo while still preserving those original lines and amazing details that we all know and love. Then also the engineers said, let's build something special. You had a reduction of about 300 to 400 pounds of weight in comparison to the later VT cars. Then you also had the upgrades in power on the 6.0, the 6-liter engine with the independent throttle bodies, that amazing roof scoop that just dominates the chassis, the wider track, the bigger brakes, the extensive use of composites. Every trick in the book that they had to make this car special is really what they did. A lot of people compare these cars to the Diablo 6.0s, which were produced a little bit later after these cars. The most dramatic difference is the kind of the responsiveness of the front end that it gives you due to the lack of the four-wheel drive, where the front end is playful and dancing, where you can have a nice light responsive steering, where the four-wheel drive gives you confidence at speed. This car, you need to be on your game. You need to be paying attention at all hours. I gotta dry my tires.